Hi, I'm Holly Davis. I've been working as an international animal communicator for the past 27 years. And today I'm going to be discussing with you why using our senses is so important during animal communication. So the way in which the information comes to us is in the form of words, pictures, and feelings. So those all kind of come in your head. When you're doing that, it's not as if the people that are with you are able to hear or sense anything is actually going on with you at the time. But what you will be doing is inwardly processing. So it may be that if you are working with an animal that's feeling unwell, you may get that nauseous feeling or have pain as well in certain places in your body. Now, for me, I tend not to find that. What I do get sometimes when I connect with an animal is a raised heart rate. So that immediately tells me that the animal is chronically stressed, even if they don't come across it at the time. However, if this is something that you experience yourself, as in having sensations that are uncomfortable, just ask that they're taken away because obviously they're not yours to keep. And the last thing that you need to do is be holding on to animals' physical pain. So another way that we might experience it as well is floods of emotion. So what happens with me is that sometimes I'll feel emotion from the animal, but it's not too intense. It's at a level that I can deal with. Other times there'll be massive floods of emotion from the animal, and this can be anything from gratitude to fear, anything that creates, that emotive response in them. But sometimes it's to the depth that it can actually make my eyes water and give me goosebumps. So it happens differently with everybody. Some people won't have any physical sensations at all. So hearing is a really important one because obviously if you can't hear, you're not going to be as exact as you need to be. And I have actually had some animal communicators in saying that have said to me that the other sensations that they receive are just as strong as words. So they're quite often able to work things out because they're giving imagery as well. Another thing that can be experienced is just that feeling of knowing. It's that feeling deep down in the pit of your stomach that no matter what the animal's saying, that you know it's wrong. And this is the same kind of thing that we can experience with people when somebody says that, yes, I'm fine, or no, that's not hurting, and things like that. It's that sort of like a little internal alarm bell that goes off inside of you. So this is another sensation that you can get. Also, as well, a lot of people will receive mental imagery, and this is really important. So think of it in terms of if an animal had an accident, or they were looking to show you something that had happened to them. By watching it as almost like a video clip in your head, it shows you to see exactly kind of what happened with them. And when you've got that image, so say for instance, if a dog had tripped over and sort of done a roly-poly or something in the long grass, and they might be showing you that as a way of explaining to you that how they damaged their neck. So it's not just the fact that the damage is there, you may have already located that, but explaining to you how it was actually done. So imagery is also really important in creating it in your own mind, not just getting it from the animal in order that they can explain better to you. But sometimes when you're asking them questions or wanting to explain things to them, by providing mental imagery that you send to them, that also helps you to be able to build up the bigger picture so that they can properly understand what it is that you're referring to. So our sense of smell is really important as well when working with animal communication. So the senses, the anatomy that are involved in smell is actually called the olfactory system. And this is really important because, say, for instance, if you were working with a horse that were lame, it could be the case that you got a certain sort of really pungent, not very nice smell that they might be referring to their hoof at the time, and that could be an indication of something like an abscess. And also as well, I remember working with a small pony. I was actually working with it in person. And although there was no actual smell coming from the pony, the moment I put my hand on its liver, I had the most horrible, sickly feeling. And so I explained to the lady in question, I think it would be a good idea if the pony were blood tested, and it did actually come back with liver damage. So you can see how handy smell can be used. So what I tend to do when I'm teaching is use the analogy of an orange and get people to meditate. It's going to sound a little bit silly using an orange, but there's a really good reason for it. So if you think about it in logical terms, it kind of an orange sort of helps with all the senses. So what it does straight away is you can feel the orange. So if you were to actually touch it in your hands and almost like scrape it with your nail, it would also help you to get the smell of the orange. You can eat a piece of the orange, and what that allows you to do is to be able to taste it. You can also feel the weight of the orange. So as much as it sounds a little bit weird meditating on an orange, you know, an imaginary one that you hold in your hands, what it does is actually allow you to be able to work with all your senses, because obviously you can see the orange as well. So how clearly can you see it? How clearly can you taste it? How clearly can you feel it? You know, imagine sort of when you're opening it, you've kind of, you know, with all the sort of pith and the oil from the skin, and then it might sort of spray on your hands a little bit as you open up the segments. So it's all about analysing what is your dominant traits, what is your dominant senses within this. And, you know, if you give it a go at home, what it might actually do is help you understand how it feels. Because even ripping part the skin back, you know, even that has a sound to it. Can you hear that? Because all of these things are the senses that we use within animal communication.